morning. What is up, fellow Hoops fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Last Shot NBA show here on Little Birdie TV. And as always, brought to you by our good friends over there at topsport.com.au. Now today, I'm very excited because we've actually got our first return guest for the season. He's a man that knows far more about basketball than what I do, and it's always a pleasure chatting to him. Roy Ward from The Age newspaper. Old mate Roy, how are you, sir?
Nick, so good to be with you, mate.
The pleasure is all mine, Roy, and it's good to have you on and, maybe bring some logic and sense to this show because BK and I are just on here talking absolute reckless stuff every week.
No, I'm just as reckless. Well, possibly not.
You definitely cannot be as reckless as I've been going wild with my Knicks picks this year, and every time I pick them they lose, and every time I don't pick them they win. And you know what, Roy, we're on a 2-game winning streak at the moment. The playoff push is back.
Hey, bring it. Just every win is just nectar of the gods for the Knicks.
I know you're a Celtics man, and our franchises have gone in two different directions this year, Roy, but we're going to start off a little bit with the Cleveland Cavaliers and Jarrett Allen, the injury that he suffered. Now, unfortunately, the injury woes for the Cavaliers continue. They're already down Colin Sexton, Ricky Rubio out for the season. Darius Garland has had back issues. No Rajon Rondo, no Karis LeVert. They're going to be out, no Jarrett Allen indefinitely at the moment. Left the game yesterday with a quad contusion, but was later diagnosed with a left middle finger injury. No timetable for his return. The Cavaliers released this statement over here. He's having his best season to date, Roy. 16.3 points, 10.9 rebounds, 1.7 assists, 1.3 blocks. How do you see this affecting the Cavaliers? Because this is a big blow for them, isn't it, Roy?
Yeah, this is, if he's not back for the playoffs, this is curtains for their hopes of doing much. A few weeks ago, they looked like a team, who really could be anything in this playoff race. They really did look like someone who you would shudder to play against in a 7-game series with Garland, with Allen, with Mobley and the rest of the crew. But Allen's a defensive linchpin. He's the guy who holds it down for them. I still think the Brooklyn Nets made a horrendous error trading him a couple of years ago, even with the superstars they ended up with. And look, without him, we're going to see a whole lot from Evan Mobley. Let's see what he can do as the Lone Ranger. But yeah, they've got a lot to make up for if Allen's not back.
Yeah, I agree with you. And to your point, not only are we going to see a lot of Evan Mobley, I believe we're going to see a lot of old man Kevin Love at the 5 position as well. He's going to be playing a lot more minutes. But to your point about Jarrett Allen being the defensive linchpin, I agree 100%. And I agree with you that you really saw the impact he had on the Brooklyn Nets, and you see it now because when you look at the Brooklyn Nets and you look at what they're missing, it's a guy like Jarrett Allen.
It's way harder to find a Jarrett Allen. It's way harder to find a bloke with an afro like that than it is to find someone who can get you 25 points a game. But, that's the beauty of Cleveland sort of looking at going outside the square. They were desperate at the time to find some quality. They said, well, let's look at this guy. And he's proven time and time again that he's as good an interior defender as you'll find in the league, and he's a far better finisher than people give him credit for too. If you look at the numbers he's producing for them now.
Yeah, Cleveland have had a lot of injuries. I've looked at them throughout the year, and every time a guy goes down, I've always been kind of like, all right, that's it. They're in trouble now, and they always have found a way to sort of stay afloat throughout the season. They've dropped to 6th in the East at the moment, but got a 3-game lead over the slumping Raptors, who are in 7th. If they maintain the 6th seed, they don't have to play in that play-in tournament. If they drop to 7th, they obviously have to go through the play-in tournament to progress. But I just look at this Jarrett Allen injury, and I think this might be the one that breaks their back for this season. Like this one's going to hurt them. And like you said, if he's out for a while, it's going to hurt them a lot.
Yeah, and look, once you fall into that play-in bracket with a weakened roster, you're really asking for trouble. You're right, if they stick to 6th, be wonderful. Great achievement for a team that struggled so much since LeBron left town again. But yeah, I think Allen, such a big presence, they'll struggle to replace him.
Yeah, I agree. And look, they're going to have to sort of maybe try and stay afloat until LeBron can come back next season, Roy. Moving on, Roy, I want to talk a little bit because you keep a really close, I mean, we all do, but you keep an especially close eye on the Australians around the world. And I want to talk to you a little bit about Dyson Daniels. He's been super impressive in the G League. Actually had some pretty incredible numbers the other day. We're going to put up this tweet here. 21 points, 18 rebounds, 8 assists. Almost had the first triple-double in G League Ignite history, which is the franchise that he's playing for over there in the G League. Roy, in 14 games, he's averaging 11.3 points, 5.9 rebounds, 4.4 assists. He's about 31 minutes of court time. Highly touted pick in the upcoming draft, Roy. What have you seen from Dyson? Like, he's been absolutely incredible, hasn't he?
Well, the funny thing is, he played against men here in Australia as a 15-year-old. Played in the Siebel competition, now known as NBL 1, with his native Bendigo side. His dad was a pro player out here for decades. He's always good then. He could hold his own. And we're seeing that in the G League. He can defend 1 through 4. Might be a stretch to have 1 through 5, but he can certainly defend anyone. And he showed in that All-Star in their rookie game that he can handle it. So, look, he's going to be a wonderful player at the next level. Some teams going to get exceptionally lucky when Dyson Daniels joins their group.
What kind of role do you see him playing in the NBA, though?
Oh, defensive guard, defensive sort of playmaker. I'd love to see him join a group that already has some talent. I think if he's in a team like Josh Giddey was this year, a lot of young guys, he might not show his strengths right away. If you put him in a team like Josh Green did in Dallas, I think he could be even more productive. I think he'd be someone who could hold down a regular rotation spot right away. Particularly if he's got some defensive assignments he can focus on.
In saying all that, and we've talked about how impressive he's been through the G League season. Obviously, he had a really good showing at All-Star Weekend in the Rising Stars game. Where do you sort of see him going in the draft now? Do you see him going in the lottery or maybe like mid to sort of late first round?
I'm a lottery person with Daniels. I think the more people watch him, the higher he'll rise. Similar to Giddey last year, maybe he won't reach the same heights, but I think once teams get a look at him, talk to him, hear from him, talk to his family, they'll just see he's all round exactly the sort of guy that you'd be more than comfortable using a lottery pick on.
Speaking of Giddey, I want to touch on this real quickly now because he is out. The Thunder coach said that they've got no timetable for his return. They were going to come back with an update within a couple of weeks, I believe, is the last thing that I've heard. So it looks like he could be out for the majority of March. His streak of Rookie of the Month will probably come to an end after having 4 in a row. Roy, just some of your impressions of Giddey so far this season.
Oh, he's been wonderful. He's shown what we all knew he had back in Australia, but he's shown it on such a consistent scale that I think it's surprised a lot of people that he just hasn't hit the walls on the court. I was talking to him just before the All-Star break, and we had a story in The Age about how he did hit the rookie wall, but he hit it mentally. He had some games where his motivation was low, where he was really struggling to understand why he was playing still. When, he'd played 45, 50 games, which for him was 2 seasons worth of games. So he got through that, and he's come through even stronger right until this injury hit him. So look, he's been excellent. He's shown that he is an elite player in the NBA. And, his numbers are only going to get better as he sort of gets better with the league and as the Thunder get better. He's done this on a team that's barely won, a third of their games. So I think we're only going to see greater things from here. He's certainly given an incredible baseline of what he can do in that rookie season. And, I don't think he'll win Rookie of the Year. I'd love it. But I think, if Mobley's performance drops down now that Cleveland's having these injuries, and if Barnes doesn't really pick up, who knows? Maybe the voting ends up pushing Giddey up a bit. But I think either way, he's had a wonderful campaign. Yeah,
I agree with you. I don't think he's going to win Rookie of the Year, even if he was healthy for this month and, he continued to play. And, look, BK always brings up the point of like, well, what if he gets a few more triple doubles? And I think it's just going to come down to more than just getting, triple doubles, because I think Evan Mobley has been the best and most consistent. And then I do probably have Scotty Barnes a little bit ahead of Josh Giddey as well. And they're obviously both playing for winning franchises. Now, winning doesn't matter as much in a Rookie of the Year versus an MVP, but I do think it does play a factor as well. But shout out to Josh Giddey. No matter what happens from here on out, fantastic rookie season. And bigger and better things are coming for that young fella in the future. I want to talk a little bit about Gregg Popovich as well, Roy. Yesterday's win over the Lakers tied Gregg Popovich with Don Nelson for all-time wins as a coach. So they've both got 1,335. Popovich has done it all with the one franchise, of course, 5 championships with the Spurs as well. Spurs' next game is against the Raptors tomorrow. Roy, what do you reckon? Does he get the record there tomorrow?
I think he might be waiting a little longer. That being said, you never doubt the Spurs. They find ways to win, even in seasons where they struggle a bit, as they have this one. I am worried about the relevancy of this roster at the moment and the team in the past few years. We've seen DeRozan turn up, have 4 or 5 years there, and then become an MVP candidate in Chicago. Yeah. We've seen Derek White leave for Boston, become a real serious, really help them become a serious contender this season. You got to question what they're doing with their lineups and with the way they're juggling their players around. Regardless of Popovich, he's been wonderful though for all these decades and years.
Yeah, and he's also never really coached the Spurs through a rebuilding phase, hasn't he? I mean, when he first took over, they were struggling, which is why he sort of inserted himself as head coach. But then the next season, they draft Tim Duncan and they go on to have, I think it was 22 consecutive playoff appearances. I think 20 seasons in a row of like 50 wins in each season. So he's never really coached through a rebuilding period, has he?
Well, not to the degree he has, because they got Aldridge, who sort of helped bridge that gap between Duncan, sort of his prime, and then his later years. So, yeah, they're at that point now where they've got to figure out how to reinvent the franchise a bit, reinvent the roster. Murray's a wonderful player. There's a couple of others, Johnson, a few others who really have a lot of promise, but they've got to figure out again who their linchpins are, who to build around. And I think Popovich has got to probably alter his style a little bit, considering someone like DeRozan has not changed in any way except what jersey he's wearing and become an MVP candidate this season. So on a roster that had players that were probably available to the Spurs for the most part. So they got some things to look at. I'm sure they're going to look at them. And the one thing they've been great at over the years is making change when change needs to be made. So let's have a look what they do. And in the meantime, he's going to get a wonderful record sometime in these next few weeks.
He's also 71 years old, so I don't know. This is just my hunch. I don't know how much more he wants to be coaching or how much longer he wants to be coaching for. I mean, I don't see him doing this for the next 5 years. So we'll see how long, and he's the kind of guy, he strikes me as the kind of guy, he knows when it's time to get out as well. If we look on the active list of coaches of all-time wins, next on the active list is Doc Rivers, and he's 10th all-time with 1,029 wins. Rick Carlisle is 15th with 858. Nate McMillan and Eric Spoelstra. This is one to keep an eye on because he's 24th all-time with 650 wins, but he's only age 51. We say only. He's still a young kind of guy. Roy, out of those names there, I mean, I look at it, I'm going to say Doc Rivers is probably the most likely to catch up to Popovich, just given how close he is already. But if I'm looking at somebody, down the line that could surpass both those totals, I'm looking at Eric Spoelstra because he could be coaching for at least another 15 years.
He doesn't look like the sort of guy who wants to bolt for the broadcast booth, does he? He sort of looks like a guy who wants to be coaching for life. The issue you always are going to have with guys who start so young, even ones that have been as fortunate and successful as Spoelstra, is do they hit a blowout point where they say, I'd rather go and work like Brad Stevens is doing, I'd rather go up and become a vice president or a general manager? Do they have to want to go back and coach, high school kids for a bit or do something because they're also wealthy and independent, money-wise, that it's not so much of a demand. So you can never see what the future has in store, but Spoelstra has put himself in a position where if he wants to continue coaching for another 10 or 15 years, you could certainly see that happening. And if he did so, his wins are going to be right up there with those blokes at the top.
That's a good point, Roy, because that's something I mentioned the other day as well when I was talking with BK. I just feel like with Spoelstra, I don't think he's also going to be coaching for the next 15 years. I think there's a succession plan there that once Pat Riley's done in the front office, he's going to succeed him once again, just like he did sort of, on the sidelines. We'll have to wait and see. Like you said, no one knows what the future holds. Spoelstra could be there for the next 20 years. We just don't know. All right, Roy, we're going to move on to some game predictions for today before we let you get out of here because we know you're a busy man. 6 games on the NBA slate today. We're going to start off with Brooklyn and Charlotte. Now, this one's going to be good because there's some playoff and play-in seed implications with this one here. The Nets are favourites, $1.55. Hornets, $2.58. The line's at 4, totals at 240 even, live on NBA League Pass. This is 8th versus 9th, 9th being the Brooklyn Nets. They've been struggling. They've lost 4 in a row. The Hornets have won a couple in a row. No Jalen McDaniels, no James Bouknight for the Hornets. No LaMarcus Aldridge, no David Duke Jr., no Cam Thomas, no Ben Simmons. Kyrie is playing because it is an away game, so he's eligible to play. Roy, who do you like in this one?
Look, the Hornets certainly look the sort of the team that has the form to sort of knock over a Nets team that's been so indifferent. But it's always hard to call. And lines, goodness me, you could not call a line on this game. It could go anywhere. Absolute mess of a game in terms of their lineups. So probably go with the Hornets, but who the hell knows?
Yeah, that's been my motto every time the Knicks play too. I'm going to go with Brooklyn because I just feel like, look, Kevin Durant came back after such a long layoff, and he can drop 25 to 30 points after a long layoff with his eyes closed. Like, he's absolutely phenomenal. I just feel like he's going to sort of wheel this team to a victory today. I like the Nets to go into Charlotte and get a close win today. Moving on, next game we're going to take a look at here. We've got the New Orleans Pelicans and the Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are $1.38 favorites. Pelicans $3.20. Lines at -6.5. Totals at 229.5. Live on ESPN today. Grizzlies are up to second in the West. They're 8 games behind the Phoenix Suns. They've overtaken the Golden State Warriors, who have dropped down to 3rd. Pelicans just 1 game back of the Lakers, who are in 9th. Pels are pretty good. I like them. They're fun to watch. CJ McCollum's had a great effect on that team. Took a monster triple-double from Nikola Jokic to beat them the other day. And also shout out to Steven Adams, who's having an incredible season with them as well. No Dylan Brooks for the Grizzlies. New Orleans is pretty much full strength, obviously without the exception of Zion Williams. And Roy, who do you like in this one here?
Look, got to go with the Grizzlies, but as you said about the Pelicans, they're coming up. They've got a good mix. They really go after it. If there was one the Grizzlies could drop, it could be this one. But the test from them, how consistent are they going to be in this run forward now? Everyone knows they're coming, but I think you got to go with the Grizzlies.
Roy, I'm going to have to go against you on this one here too. We're going to go 2 from 2 tipping against each other. I'm going to go with the New Orleans Pelicans in an upset. It's on the road, but like you said, I feel like this is the one that the Grizzlies might drop. So I'm going with Pelicans in a close one over there in Memphis. Next game we're going to take a look at is Milwaukee and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Milwaukee, big favorites here for a reason. $1.10 favorites. Oklahoma City, $8. The line's at 14. Totals at 232 even. Live on NBA League Pass. The Bucks are finding form, Roy. They've won 4 in a row. The team's 27-8 when their big 3 play together. Their big 3 is playing together today. They're half a game back of the 76ers, who are in second. Just really close at the top of the East over there. Thunder are just 9-23 at home this season. Young team, to be expected. No George Hill, no Grayson Allen, no Pat Connaughton from Milwaukee, no Giddey, no Derek Favors, but SGA has been balling for Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't think it's enough for them to beat Milwaukee, even at home.
Key factor is Bucks need every win they can get, don't they, to make sure that they're right at the very top of those standings. So it's hard to see, unless they wake up in the morning and decide to rest Giannis and a few lads, it's hard to see them dropping this one.
Yeah, look, like I keep saying, Roy, a Greek man will never let you down some of the time, and he's not going to let us down today. Last NBA game we're going to take a look at here is the Clippers and the Golden State Warriors. Warriors $1.42 favorites, Clippers $3, lines at -6. Total is at 224, live on ESPN today. Feels weird to say this, Roy, but the Warriors need a win. They're on a 5-game losing streak. They definitely need Draymond Green back. They have not looked the same without him. He announced he was close to a return. I think March 14 is the date that they're looking at for his return. Clippers lost to the Knicks on Monday, but they're 7-3 in their last 10. They've been playing some pretty good basketball. I'm going with the road team here. I actually think the Clippers go into Golden State and get a win here today.
Never forget that feeling the Warriors have towards the Clippers from back in the Lob City days when they had that heated rivalry. I think there's something about that jersey and the logo that just make Steph and the other guys fire up a little bit. They miss green desperately, but no, Warriors today.
Warriors today. All right, we've gone against each other on that one there as well. And we're going to take a look at one NBL game, which is on tomorrow. And Roy, there's no one better to talk NBL with because you are Australia's foremost expert in the NBL. Tomorrow night, Melbourne United, Perth Wildcats, United favourites, top of the ladder, $1.52. Perth Wildcats, $2.53. Lines at 4.5. Total is at 171. Live on ESPN. This one should be a good game, Roy. I'm going to go with the money. I'm going with Melbourne United in this one here, unless you can convince me otherwise.
Perth would love to ambush Melbourne on this one, and they've fallen out of that top two in recent times. So if fallen back at least a little bit in that sort of struggle. So they would love a chance to knock Melbourne United off. This is their chance. Big game Thursday night. United, big question. If Joe Achul is playing, they're favourites. If his partner gives birth, there's been a bit of delay with that the past week. If she gives birth, then I think, and he's not there, Melbourne United's in trouble. But otherwise, I think United's got to be the team you back.
He's the MVP for sure so far, isn't he, Roy?
If he's not, he's certainly All-Star 5. I think with Bryce Cotton in the league, you can never say the MVP's going to anyone else. But I think he's going to be right there in the discussion.
All right, there you have it. Australia's foremost expert in the NBL has given us the quick breakdown on that one there. Roy, we're going to let you go because we know you're a busy man, but thank you so much. It's always a pleasure talking hoops with you, and hopefully we get you back on before the end of the season.
Anytime, brother. Always happy to help.
Appreciate you. This has been another episode of The Last Shot NBA show here on Little Birdie TV, brought to you by our good friends at topsport.com.au. We'll see you guys on Friday morning with old mate BK.